So here's the complete list. So the physical unable to perform list: Taylor Decker, Khalil Dorsey, again, injury from last season. Miles Frazier, that one's new. Aleem, injury from last season. Malcolm, injury from last season. Mekhi Wingo, injury from last season. Here's the one that just, it's just always fun to read, right? The following players are declared non-football injuries: Josh Paschal and Stanley Thomas Oliver. All due respect, I don't know who that is. All due respect, but Josh Paschal
is a corner, not bad actually, decent corner,
but non-football injury.
Yeah.
Josh.
What is Josh Paschal doing? What's he doing out here?
And then it says here, the following player is being placed on reserve, physically unable to perform: Levi Onwuzurike. All right, so we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But first, let's. There's a player being waived.
Anthony
Tyus. Okay, so I will say the one I was surprised by is Taylor Decker. I'm not going to panic because it's July 17th. There's still plenty of time. You have training camp. You have all this time, so these guys can come back. The players that have already been dealing with injuries, I'm not surprised by. I didn't expect Malcolm till Thanksgiving. I didn't expect, Aleem McNeil till the end of the year. And I didn't expect Khalil Dorsey. So that's fair. The Josh Paschal one is the one that I'm curious about. And I know people put it, I was going to bring it up. Non-football related injury.
Hopefully it's not what someone put in the chat.
Yeah,
I really hope it's not.
Josh has dealt with cancer before. So that is prayers up to him, whatever it may be.
Hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah, that's the one I want to know more information on. So hopefully, unless it is something big like that, maybe they just keep it private, which is completely understandable. But I would like to know the non-football injury, or I guess the severity of it, because whether it's serious, maybe not so serious, when you look at all the names that are dealing with injuries at this point, a lot of defensive linemen. So that's the negative of this whole thing. But prayers up to Josh Paschal, man.
I do want to throw it out there too, just so people understand the significance of the Levi Onwuzurike situation. If you didn't know, so he's on the PUP list. Yes, he is on the reserved PUP list, which is essentially like the IR, to where you see that list of guys of Taylor Decker, Khalil, Miles, Frazier, Aleem, Malcolm, and Mekhi. Those guys are just on the straight PUP list. I think they're able, and if someone knows differently, from my understanding, is the fact that those guys on the PUP list are able to come back during training camp if they are able to perform, right? If they're able to go. Like Taylor Decker, he's able to return during training camp. There's no restrictions. With Levi Onwuzurike, I think the biggest thing, and this is why this is such a big ball drop today, is Levi Onwuzurike is on the reserve PUP list. He is out for training camp, and he is also out minimum the first 4 games of the season. So this isn't like something to where it's just a minor injury, maybe like hopefully Taylor Decker working back from something. The Levi Onwuzurike injury, Jeff, is that's a big deal. Like that's like what is going on with Levi Onwuzurike, because you just signed him to a 1-year deal. It was essentially a prove it deal, and it's around $4 or $5 million, and he's injured. It's not like this is something where it's like, hey, my calf, or so, I don't know. It's not like a little hamstring. This is a serious deal. The fact that we're in July 17th, the man's going to be out until most likely October minimum. And that's not even counting, hey, and you know this, Jeff, when you come off IR, you have to get back in shape. You have to practice. You're not going to come off IR in week 1 be like, I mean, you could, there are guys who have, but the chances of that happening with a guy like Levi is probably slim. So you're sitting there going, what happened with Levi Onwuzurike? And he's had the thing that I run into. What's been the big injury for him over the last 3 or 4 years?
Since back.
It's that back. And last year they said, hey, it's fully healthy. He's finally back. He actually had a decent year. He didn't have a great year, but he had a year to where I feel like all of us as Lions fans and people covering the team are able to be like, hey, healthy back. First year back without a major injury, and he kind of is looking good. And now all of a sudden, there's this setback, and we don't know if it's a back. We don't know what it is, but this isn't a small thing. This is hey, this guy's out for 4 months. Like he is on the IR essentially. So I think that was a pretty big knock. And my biggest thing, Jeff, and I need to pull it up here because it's interesting that Brad brought him back. I don't know if Brad brought him back and they knew that there was something like this, or if this came up after the contract was signed. I genuinely, and I hope media, I'm sure the doc, we can ask him to have him ask. I would be wanting to know, hey, when did this injury happen? Did you guys bring him back on a 1-year deal knowing he's injured? Because if that's the case, like, what would Brad Holmes be doing? Why is he bringing in guys that are injured, or why injury prone? Or are we just going to keep relying on a guy like Levi who's just constantly, he's had one good year where he was healthy, but outside of that, just injuries. Like, I don't know, man. Today, that one kind of hit a little bit harder than most, to be honest.
Yeah, you asked, does Brad re-sign guys knowing they'll get banged up or they may already be banged up? The answer is yes. So the answer is yes.
Does that bother anyone? It's ridiculous at this point.
I don't know. We don't know for certain if this occurred post-signing or whatever, but it would explain they signed him for a pretty good deal. So I don't know if that factors in. I mean, again, he didn't have an amazing year to where he would command a lot of money. No, it was, he showed some flashes that Lions fans were excited to see if he could build on. It wasn't anything like, wow, the second-round pick has arrived. Like, no, he's a bust. All due respect to him, he's a bust. But at least you'd be like, well, can he be a rotational piece? Maybe, and the injury obviously does not help that. I'll say this, man. This D-line room, it's held together by pins and needles. I mean,
it's insane.
It's you have guys you really like. I mean, you've brought it up before, like the depth of this D-line room, like you're looking at it, you're like, they're not top heavy. They have Aiden. So if you want to say he's the top heavy player, that's fine. But after that, it's a lot of similar players that are just good rotational people. Not maybe good's aggressive, but you get my point. They're role players that can contribute. They go pretty deep. But here's the thing. Aleem McNeil, Mekhi Wingo, now Josh Paschal, whatever it may be. Obviously, that's a whole different situation potentially. Levi Onwuzurike, Marcus Davenport. I just named 5 guys that are either dealing or have dealt with injuries.
Yep.
So, and that's, how many are those interior? 4? I mean, 4 or 5. 4 of the 5, whatever it is. That's pretty significant, especially they just drafted Tyleek, so his importance goes up. And DJ Reader, he was pretty healthy for the most part, so at least you have him. But yeah, it is, man. Like it's like, what's your value if you're not available anyway? That's what I ask. It's like, oh, cool, you're a decent player that can contribute, but if you're not available, who cares? So I don't know. Brad stated before he likes injured players because he was injured in college, so he likes to think, hey, this guy, everyone's doubting this guy right now, or his stock is so low, we can buy low and sell high, or buy low and it pay off at a high level. I say this a lot on the show, man. It's the duck analogy. All right. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, Boone, it's probably a duck. All right. That's how it usually goes with some of these situations. So if you have a player that has been injured, gets injured, he'll probably be injured. That's what I've learned being a fan of the NFL. So now, are there exceptions? Yes, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the biggest thing, especially with this D line, is the one thing that bothers me a lot, like going through all of this, and like there's a couple players that stand out to me. Just kind of looking at it, you signed Levi O for about $4.5 million, correct? Like you brought him back on a $4.5 million deal, or maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. You knew, like, hey, this guy's had injury problems. Yes, like the thing with Brad is, and maybe this is a downfall. And listen, you guys can agree or disagree with me, Jeff. Like, there might be a downfall in Brad's mind where, hey, it is a very, very, it's kind of a good and a bad. It is very good that Brad likes to keep guys that are within the culture in the building and people who have been here, because you're keeping that floor there. You're keeping the culture in place. But also, like, is this turning into a little bit of a bad thing to where they start to like fall in love with guys a little too much, and they're like, hey, this is our guy, man. We drafted him. He's so good for this culture. And yes, Levi was probably a great dude. But like, has he like, I thought last year he had a good year. Did he have a great year to where you could be like, hey, we're not going to go look at outside players because you had such a good year? Dude, I wouldn't say so.
No.
I wouldn't say so. And like, Yeah, he's been a little healthier than he has in the past, but you're not going to sit here and bang the table and be like, oh, like you could trust him to show up for you week 1. Like, can you though? And like, I go look at some other, especially like when you know you need, hey, more edge rusher, you need to get after the quarterback more. Like the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff, signed Azeez Ojulari for $3 million. $3 million. Like you signed Levi Onwuzurike for what was it? Let me see. I got the contract up here for $4.2 million. You could have got Azeez Ojulari for almost half of that. And like Levi, I know he's a tweener, but like he has 3.5 career sacks. Azeez last year had 6 alone. And like you could even like, and that's one example that I find. Like, I mean, I could just keep going. Dante Fowler goes from the Commanders to the Cowboys for $6 million. You spend $2 more million and you go get a Dante Fowler to where I believe he almost had, and am I wrong here, Jeff? The guy had 10.5 sacks last year. And it's like, why are we like, this is what frustrates me a little bit with kind of some of these signings and some of these deals is, are we just keeping guys in here because they've been here and we're like, hey, we love the culture? Or it's like, hey, let's look outside as well. We might have to move on from a Levi O. You might have to move on from, like, these guys have had their chances. They really have. And the problem is, it's like, yeah, Booner, you can look in hindsight. He's injured now. He was injured like the first couple seasons. Like he had a serious back injury. And I wish the best for him. But like, it is one of the more frustrating things when, hey, you are a contending team in the National Football League. You really are. And I brought it up months ago, Jeff, like, is Brad's, actually, it was probably, I think it might have been around the draft time. I had said, hey, is what he's good at actually is going to be his downfall on just keeping the culture together and bringing the guys that he wants in. And he will refuse to go out and get players that can actually produce and take you to that next level. That's the problem I run into a little bit. And listen, JTO's, I was told to trust Brad Holmes. I do trust Brad Holmes. And I still do. I still think they're going to have a chance to go win a Super Bowl. But you cannot keep relying on players that are constantly going to show up on the IR, that are going to constantly be hurt, that are guys that are like, hey, they've been hurt in the past, but hey, we're hoping if they hit their ceiling, they will be good for us. And we're going to pay them not like $1 or $2 million. We're going to pay them $4.5 million when Dante Fowler gets $6 million and just had a double-digit sack season when you had no one on your team last year that even did that. And guess where Dante Fowler's going? He's going to another NFC opponent. Guess where Azeez Ojulari's going? He's going to an NFC contender. Like, these teams are making moves, and it's like it's a little more on the frustrating side to where, hey, we do trust Brad Holmes. I'll say that. Like, Brad has done a great job building this. There are a lot of moves, majority of the moves Brad's make that is great, but constantly seeing guys like this show up on the injury report. And I know last year Levi really wasn't, but it's not just Levi. It's the fact that last year you had all these, Marcus Davenport, you went into last year, the conversation of, hey, he's been injured, but hey, he's going to be good for us because he's going to stay healthy. Oh, what happens? He gets injured. And now this year, guess what happened? Like, Jeff, me and you talk about all the dude, we talk about the defensive tackle room, how elite it is, and if they're healthy, how good it is. Aleem McNeil's going to be out for at least through 5 or 6 weeks minimum. DJ Reader, healthy. You have a rookie now in Ty Leak who's going to have to step up, because who did me and you say was going to be the starting defensive tackle next to DJ Reader in place of Aleem to start the season? Guess who it was? It was supposed to be Levi Onwuzurike. And now guess who's on the IR, at least for the first 4 weeks? Levi Onwuzurike. I'm not saying this team's like cursed. But it's like, hey, this is the downfall you had last year. Maybe part of the downfall was some of the decisions of keeping hurt players, of continuing to trust players who are injury prone. Like, yes, that is a thing. Like, injury prone is a thing. And whether you think a guy has a great culture, he's a great human, he's great this, dude, there's a point where it's like, dude, hey, we got to go get someone who's going to be on the field for us and produce.
Yeah, it is. When it comes to injured players, Brad has a little bit of insanity, like doing the same thing, expecting a different result. He has that. And I'm not saying, like, I get the Levi. He was healthy last year, but a back issue, that's brutal. Like, I injured my back really bad a couple of years ago. I'm still dealing with it. You know, like it's not, and I'm not a professional athlete, so I can't imagine playing football, right, with dealing with back issues. So It's aggressive, but that's the, if you listen, we always bring it up. Some people agree, some people don't. If you want to look at Brad, both things can be true. He's one of the best general managers in the league. Okay. You can also say one of the weaknesses is he falls in love with injured players. I mean, he just does. He likes injured guys, whether it pays off or not. And I'm sure there are exceptions to where you sign injured guys and you get them on a discount and they come in and they're productive and you're like, wow, look at that. We drafted this guy that slid in the draft that was injured and look at him, he paid off. But usually, it doesn't work like that. And Levi Onwuzurike wasn't injured. I don't think someone could correct me on this. I don't know if he was injured in college. I'm not saying that's a Brad thing. They knew about that, but I'm talking post-draft. You kind of know what happened with Levi, right?
For sure.
Injuries.
Yeah.
He hasn't quite lived up to it. And, it's not just Levi. It's just the collection of guys they have, man. There's a lot of injuries. And with a team that has such high expectations, you're going to be depending essentially early on. You're going to be depending early on Tyleik Williams. I mean, you just are. So he's your first round pick, but they're going to have to really depend on him. And again, this comment's funny. Get up one. Did Jeff just compare his Medicare to NFL players' recovery process? No, they have top doctors. They do. But guys still get hurt. They're playing the most physical game you could play. Like, I'm not. So you at least have to factor that in too. Like, whether it's working out in the offseason or not, man. Like Levi, it sucks. It really does. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.